Nation, Guru Nation, Guru Nation, Guru Nation. Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. It's very fitting that I'm in my clinic, Yuma Clinical Trials, away from the conference room / coordinator room. This is like where we do the blood and ECGs and spin the centrifuge. And one of the comments I got that I said, you know what, this is going to be like very good to take a deep dive on a long form podcast, is what makes a good site manager, whatever you call it, site director, site manager, lead CRC. Whenever you get into a position where you are in charge of other people at a site. So for all intents and purposes, site director, site manager, what makes a good one? And what it boils down to is, like, it could get very complex, but the simplicity of it is keep the staff that you are in charge of and that you are responsible for happy. If you're able to do that, it makes everything a lot easier. If you're not able to do that, everything kind of upstreams from there, right? So staff in the sense of coordinators, in the sense of admins, in the sense of research assistants, everyone that you're in charge of, even physicians maybe, if you treat them well and you keep them happy, it makes everything else easier. So I've always said, like, since I can remember as a site owner, but this can relate to site managers, site directors as well, we have really like 3 priorities. It's keeping staff happy, keeping patients happy, and keeping sponsors happy. But if you want to break it down to your most important task, my theory, and this is a theory that I'm testing out over 20 years, is just keep the staff happy. And then they will keep the other 2 stakeholders happy, the sponsors and the patients. So that's in a nutshell. And I think that's the short right there, Daniel. So this one's easy because the short's at the beginning. Those are the 3 stakeholders. But you as a site director, your main priority is keeping your staff happy and empower them to keep the other 2 stakeholders happy. Now, easier said than done. Mainly because of the complexity of research, mainly because of the variables that are thrown our way, mainly because it's very difficult to be fair as someone who is in charge of delegating, hey, you do this to all the staff. And I only have like 5 staff, like 5 coordinators and 5 PIs, right? And then some sub-Is too. It's a relatively small team. Some of you people watching or listening have like 30, 50 people underneath you. It gets infinitely more complex because there's always someone that ends up doing more than others. It's never fair. I think it's impossible to keep things fair, but I think you need to keep things transparent with each individual and let them know this is where I think you need to improve. And everybody, even your best employee, has areas where they need to improve. So this is where you need to improve. And then from them, you want to be able to help them achieve their long-term career goals. I think for all the stuff that I talk bad about CROs, which I respect CROs, but we make fun of them a lot through memes, and I actually just posted a meme right now where I kind of made fun of them. One of the things they do relatively well is they have line managers in place, and these line managers, their role is to figure out the long-term career desires and objectives of the staff and then help them achieve it. And at the bigger corporations, one can argue, well, it's just lip service. It doesn't really happen. But I think at the smaller sites, at the site level, you as the manager, director, certainly as the site owner, you actually can make that happen. So it's a two-way street. If you want the employees to give you their all, you got to also give them your all. And the first 3 to 6 months of like a new employee, and then continuously ever since, my goal is to get them comfortable enough to share, okay, what do you really want to do? Even if it's something I don't want to hear. And it's really tough to get to that point. And it's tough for them to believe that you're sincere, that you actually want to hear the truth and not just what you want to hear. But I think when you reach that point, I think you actually have the opportunity to create some desired outcomes for that employee. And as long as this transaction is understood, it becomes more than a transaction, it becomes a relationship. So I've had many employees currently still finally tell me, hey, I would like to own my own site. Perfect. Let me help you. From what I know about you so far, here's where I think you need to work on. Here's how long I think it's going to take to get you there. I would like for you to stay with me until you reach that point where you're ready. I will try to be as honest as I can with you and let you know when I think you're ready. And I mean, we've had these conversations. Myself, my wife, who does our human resources, she's been involved in these conversations with employees as well. And sometimes it's not as lofty ambitions as I want to own my own site. Sometimes it's, well, I want to work from home, or, well, I want to be a CRA, or, well, I want to go to med school. We can help you achieve all those things. And I think the beauty of like running a site is if you know someone's desired career outcomes, and by the way, their career outcomes can change because what they think they want to do versus a year later, checking in with them again, hey, do you still want to own a site? Or do you still want to be a CRA? A lot of them will say, no, it was way different than I thought it would be. But thank you for showing me, like the steps in place to get there, because now I know that's actually not what I want to do. Here's what I currently want to do. And then we could work our way, reverse engineer to achieve those goals. And some people, they want to stay with us long term and say, well, I wouldn't mind being a site director or a lead CRC, or I wouldn't mind just doing patient recruitment, but being in charge of patient recruitment, or whatever else it may be. I mean, there's a long tail of like desired outcomes. So to be a good site director or manager, your employees need to know that you are doing what you can to help them achieve their goals while they help you achieve yours. So to make it a healthy relationship, the two of you working together to help each other's goals is better than each of you doing it without the other person. That's synergy. That's when 1 + 1 equals more than 2. 1 + 1 equals 3 or more. And that's where I think the magic of being a site owner, being a site director, and I'm sure you can accomplish some degree of these things at a CRO and a sponsor. I can't talk about that because I've never really ran a CRO. The CRO I currently run is just a bunch of contractors. There's no real cohesion, but everyone understands, hey, we're just trying to do like small studies. But as a site owner, I know this is not just a theory. This is the thesis for what we do with our site. And I found that your employees appreciate you a lot more. So the biggest part of being a site manager or director is establishing this honesty and trust between, and then keeping people honest, and then having KPIs, key performance indicator, for everything that you can measure. And this is something that we're working on at Yuma Clinical Trials as we mature. It's, what are the KPIs of a coordinator? Well, for me, it's happy monitors, happy patients, and those, they sound subjective, but if you actually break it down, they can be objective. So let's take the case of happy monitors. If you're a site director or a site manager, when your monitors come in, that is valuable, honest feedback you can get from your monitors. Hey, just talk to them privately, one-on-one. How are we doing as a site? How is this person doing as a coordinator? What can they do better? How do we stack up to your other sites? I'm trying to continuously improve our site and our staff, and you'll be amazed how honest the CRAs will be. And they'll give you good feedback, and that's your objective KPIs. Well, is it the data entry? Is that slow? That's a KPI right there. If it's the coordinator's role or whomever's role that particular function is it protocol deviations? That's another KPI. Is it screen fail ratio? Maybe you could break that down. You could be pre-screening better. KPI for as many things as you can. Things like Creo can help, at least on the patient scheduling side. On the pre-screening side, I know one of my companies, Patient Ace, which is a patient recruitment tool. We just 2 hours before we're shooting this podcast are talking to Creo about integrating with Creo so that when we run ads in the community, those leads can automatically come into Creo, and then this is something that we hope to bring to the rest of the sites too. So message me if you're interested. If you're using Creo, you can use Patient Ace. But you can now pre-screen better. And now your admin or your research assistant or your coordinator should be able to get more patients scheduled and more appropriate patients scheduled. So now that's a KPI right there. How many patients are we seeing a day? For me, as a growing site, that is a very important metric. From right now, it's April 2024. From January through March, we were averaging 4 to 5 patients a day. In April, because we were put on a screening hold for a study, we were only averaging 2 patients a day. So our KPI took a dip, but I knew the reason for that, and it wasn't anyone's fault. We're back off of the screening hold, so now everyone understands we need to get back to this KPI of 4 to 5. Who's in charge of making sure that those patients are getting pre-screened and scheduled? There's staff here that know their roles that are in charge of doing that. So not just establishing the trust with the coordinator and having that, or any staff, doesn't even have to be the coordinator, having that honest discussion about what your objectives are, what their objectives are, and how you can work together to make those happen, but also keeping each other accountable. So you as a site director or as a site manager should be able to at least meet formally one-on-one with everyone. So we have quarterly review meetings here with every single employee. And then I have a lead CRC here who does weekly task list for everyone. So we have a paper trail for everything. Everything is documented. These were your tasks for the week. Here's how you fared. These were your tasks for the week. Here's what you were able to accomplish. And every quarter, I have a meeting one-on-one. Unless my wife joins me, and then it's 2-on-1, or Jaime, who's the other business partner here, who's a sub-investigator, then it's 3-on-1, where we actually review the progress. And sometimes we don't have to wait the entire 3 months. If I've noticed something's off, I'll bring that person in. Like I had a conversation with one of them today. Hey, what's going on? I know you doing these things. Here's what's going on internally. And then here's why certain stakeholders are not happy with certain actions, but here's what I think about it. And then what do you think about it? And we just have an honest dialogue. I feel like it helps move progress forward. What you don't want is resentment amongst your staff. You don't want staff thinking, hey, I'm doing all the work. This person's just sitting there benefiting off of the hard work, off of our backs, which at the end of the day, if you're an owner or even a manager, chances are you're getting paid more than the people doing the work. So, as long as you're providing honest communication back and forth, and you acknowledge where they're coming from and you appreciate the work when they do the good work, and you have honest conversations when they're not doing the work, you can make it happen. Now, not everyone is meant to be a site director or a manager. That it takes a certain amount of humility to be in this role. And that's probably the toughest thing for people in these situations to have. You can't teach, I don't think you can teach humility. I think you can slowly get better at it. But if you're someone who's not empathetic, it's very hard to become empathetic and become humble. So if you're someone looking to promote someone to a leadership role, humility is a very important attribute of this person. So the entire purpose of this podcast, really, like those three stakeholders: keep employees happy, which includes the PIs, keep patients happy, and keep sponsors happy, which is what every site should be doing. If you're the site director or site manager, you really should focus on one of those stakeholders, which is keep your employees happy and empower them to keep the other two stakeholders happy and give them the tools they need. And then appreciate them when they're doing well. And when they're not doing well, make sure that you're doing everything in your power to give them the opportunity. Now, it gets a lot easier if you hire the right people. So when you hire the wrong person, I'm a big believer in hire slow, fire fast. Don't fall in love with the first candidates you interview just because you don't feel like interviewing 20 more. I don't feel like interviewing candidates almost ever. I do not like that process, but it's important to do it. And it's important to pick the right type of person that's moldable to what a coordinator can be. And it starts with, just like the site director, it starts with humility. It starts with, is this person coachable? It starts with, is this person a team player? Do they get along with others? Those are like important elements that you can't really teach. So you have to have some level of foresight and discernment into, can this person actually do this? And if you hire the right person, everything of what I just said is a lot easier. If you hire the wrong person, which I've done many times, the mistakes I've made is I didn't fire them fast enough. I let the situation get worse. I try to fix it by doing everything I just said. But sometimes it doesn't work because the person on the other end is not moldable, doesn't have the right attitude. What you should do in those situations is fire fast. And at times it becomes a gut check. I usually like to wait 3 months, especially when they're brand new. Like if I just hired someone, everyone knows the first 3 months is probationary period. If things don't work out, if you don't like us, if we don't like you, hey, no issues, you're gone. It's happened a few times here at Yuma Clinical Trials. But if after that 3 months, you start noticing things and you're like, well, maybe I made the wrong decision on hiring this person, and you have one-on-ones and you try to fix the situation and it's not getting better, you need to move on. It's in both of your interests to move on. I think that's one of the hardest things for me, at least personally, to do is hire slow, fire fast. I used to do, when I first started, hire fast, fire slow, which is like the opposite of what we should be doing, in my opinion. So that's the podcast. Again, it boils down to keeping your staff happy, engaged, and accountable, and actually having metrics so that when they start getting into, well, this person does this and you let them, and you have favoritism because this person does this, and when I do this, I get in trouble. You come back to the KPIs, the key performance indicators. Hey, this is your role, not this person's role. Here's your KPIs. Here's their KPIs. Now you're comparing apples to apples instead of apples to oranges. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Let me know if I missed anything. This is a complex topic. I mean, we could go on for 2 more hours about it. Maybe we will one day. Bye-bye. Hey, if you guys like that kind of content, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Stay tuned for more videos.